Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 32 of the Masters Muscle podcast. Vinny's just a few minutes behind, but I am excited tonight. According to this gentleman's training partner, one of the nicest guys you will ever meet, but you definitely do not want to train legs with him. He is your 2010 Nationals heavyweight champion and most recently fourth place at the Masters Olympia in Romania. Who am I speaking of? Fred Biggie Smalls. Fred, welcome to the show.
How are you, sir? I appreciate you having me on. How's it going?
Can't complain. And again, it's an absolute honor. Fred, let's walk back. Let's go into the time machine just a little bit. You know, what got you into bodybuilding? What got you into the sport of lifting?
I was a overweight kid in middle school, and I never lacked confidence. My mom was really good at building me up all the time. My mom and dad always making me feel like I was great, whether or not.
Oh boy.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, we got you, Fred.
Sorry. And then, so, my mom had just kind of overheard me in the bathroom, peeked in, and I was like hitting my stomach, crying because I was so fat.
Okay.
And, credit to her, she didn't, kind of come in and say it's okay or anything like that. The next day, we just showed up at a gym. And,
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and she got me hooked up with a trainer, and he showed me the ropes on how to do a basic lifting program. And from that point forward, I'm sure there was another time, but I don't remember worrying about my weight again because I got into the gym, got excited about building muscle, and he focused on how strong I was for my age and all that kind of stuff. And and then once I started wrestling, it was a wrap. I lost all the body fat, and yeah, so we that's what kind of started me.
And what age was that,
And
Fred?
I was 13 years old, and
Were you
I
bullied,
remember.
or was it just a personal thing? Were you bullied, unfortunately, or
No, I wasn't
no?
bullied. I think what ended up happening was, when I was in when I was, in seventh grade or whatever, eighth grade, I kind of was like never really paid attention to it that much. But as I entered high school, I realized the girls aren't talking to the fat kids as much. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
then I really started to notice it, and my mom just put me in the gym and got me started, and so it was like the summer going into my ninth grade year. We started in the gym, and it was I loved it. I love lifting weights, and I played my traditional sports in high school: football, wrestling, track, but I would
Yep.
always lift, and loved it.
And was nutrition a factor, or at that point was it just really getting in the gym and just trying to rebuild yourself?
Yeah, we didn't really know much about nutrition, and that trainers at the time didn't really talk to me about nutrition. When I really started learning about nutrition is my senior year. Me and my buddy went to the mall, and we were like, we were at the mall, and we're thinking, I'm thinking I'm big. I got a little muscle shirt on and everything, and I've been lifting, and I was bigger than all the, most of the kids my age. But I got my body fat done in the mall at a little kiosk. The guy was doing body fat testing with calipers. And I'm
Okay.
thinking I look great. And he tells me my body fat is 20%. And I'm
Okay.
like, what? Now, looking back, I don't know how accurate what that was, but literally the next weekend, I went and signed up at the local Gold's Gym for a program called Nutrition Analysis. And that's when I started learning about nutrition.
Got it. And at that point, were you picking up magazines yet? Were you getting into that aspect, or?
Well, of course, I mean, I was the kid that I think my parents actually questioned me sometimes because my wall was plastered with bodybuilders, from
Okay.
everything from Flex Wheeler to Ronnie Coleman to Kevin Levrone, Sean Ray, all of them. And and I had Corey Everson, Rachel McLish, Linda Murray up there too. But it was
Yep.
like literally my whole um, wall to wall with nothing but bodybuilders and female bodybuilders on my wall and in my bedroom. And it was one of those things. But I tell you, what really hooked me was I was watching American Muscle, on
Oh, sure.
ESPN,
Yep.
and they did they were featuring the Mr. Olympia and Flex Wheeler. I saw Flex Wheeler, his first Mr. Olympia, go against Dorian Yates because I graduated in '93 from high
Yep.
school,
Okay.
and they were showing that competition. And I remember him doing that kneeling, twisting back double bicep. I was like, God, that looks awesome. And from that point forward, I was like, I want to do a show. I want to do a show.
Was there now when you're following the bodybuilders, was there someone specifically that you maybe modeled after, or someone that you liked that said, I can have a physique like that?
Um, well, okay, so it's a little funny because I went to college at Salisbury State University, and I'm thinking I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. So in my mind, I'm gonna have a bodybuilder. And there was a guy named Rob Kreider who kind of
Okay.
took me under his wing for the first 3 months, and Rob never made it pro, but he got as high as third at nationals, and he he kind of took me under his wing and was like, but he was friends with the powerlifting coach of Salisbury State.
Okay.
So their main 198 pounder had torn his Achilles, so they needed a replacement, and Rob suggested me. So immediately I started with no practice. I ended up on a platform
Jeez.
at a powerlifting meet, and I didn't do terrible. I was 198. I was only 18 years old, and I did 1,430 total or something like that. And
Wow.
yeah, so I ended up in third in the juniors, and so then obviously I'm like, I'm still want to do a bodybuilding show, but now I'm like, okay, I'm a powerlifter. This is cool. And I come back from spring break, and I get back, and I'm like, okay, when's the next competition? And the coach of the powerlifting team is like, our main guy's back. We don't need you right now.
Oh
So I'm
shit.
like, obviously my ego's shot. So I'm
Yep.
like, all right, well, back to the drawing board. I'm gonna do bodybuilding. Well, here's the thing about bodybuilding. This kind of leads to why I'm in my career I'm in. Everyone says they're going to help you until it's time to help you, right? Like now everybody's got coaches, but back then, if you got a coach, they were astronomically priced, but
Yep.
they were very far and few between because there wasn't a whole lot of information about it out on the internet or
Sure.
anything like that. So this is like 1994, and I so I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to do this thing because the guy who said he was going to mentor me, he got an internship away. And of course, there's
Okay.
no such thing as FaceTiming or anything like that, right? So, we talk on the phone every once in a while, but that's about it. And I said, okay, so let me figure this thing out. So I want no fat on me, so I'm gonna eat everything fat free. So I'm eating
Snackwells.
like, yeah, you remember those things? Oh my God, right? So it took everybody about 10 years to figure out that was worse than eating the real thing, right? But
Yep.
Snackwells, all the fat-free cereals, Frosted Flakes, everything that was Frosted Rice Krispies didn't have any fat in it, so I was eating those. I would go
But
to
twice the
the
sugar. People didn't realize no fat, but twice the sugar.
absolutely right. So of course I'm getting leaner, I'm losing muscle. I don't know exactly what to eat. I'm just eating everything fat-free, right? And then someone tells me you're not really supposed to eat that. I think you got to eat chicken and veggies and tuna. So I'm like, okay,
Okay.
let me try and eat chicken, veggies, and tuna, right? So I'm just hodgepodging this thing together. I'm doing way too much cardio. I'm
Yep.
lifting in a sweatsuit because I want to, like, not a sweatsuit, but like one of those plastic suits because
Oh yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
we did for wrestling to lose weight, right? So I'm doing everything wrong. Long story short, I go to the show, AAU, remember that?
Sure.
AAU, Mr. Annapolis competition. I get second in the teenagers out of like 16 teenagers. I get second. And
Okay.
I mean, when I look back at those pictures, I barely had abs, but I was just like, I still had symmetry and I was just bigger than most of the other teenagers, right? So I got second, and I'm like, whoo, like I'm a bodybuilder. And when I got ready for my next competition, that's when I went in the NPC. So now you're against real guys, right? So I'm in
Sure.
the
Sure.
NPC. And what I did to get ready for that is I read this book called Built. And I don't remember
Yeah.
if you remember that book, but in that book, he talks about how he did 500 calories a day for
Mm-hmm.
like, right? So for the 2 weeks into the show, I did 500 calories a day. I was dead,
Jeez.
dead. I barely made my college classes. I'm laying in bed cold all the time. I think I about killed myself. But I show up to the show, and Sean Roden won the teenage. I got last.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
And then I went into men's bodybuilding. I got last. So
What did you
we
compete
get
at,
done.
Fred? What did you step on stage at?
I was a light heavy. I don't remember exactly, but I was
Okay.
light heavy. And I remember my mom goes, if you're going to do this again, I want you to get real help. So the next semester, I enrolled in a nutrition class, started taking a nutrition class.
Yep.
And then I started working with, that summer, I went down south and I met this guy named Heath Malpass. And he started helping me with dieting and stuff. And he was a Mr. South Carolina. And then one of the guys in my local gym, when I started doing it right, then he picked up and said, I can help you, because he saw I was serious. So,
Yeah.
um, and then from that point forward, I kind of had some guidance. And then at that point, I was about 20 when I competed again. And, I won everything. I won the Teenage Long Island. I won
Yep.
the juniors and at the AMBC. Remember the AMBC
Oh,
back in
yeah.
the day? Like, it's what OCB is now. Yeah. So I
Yep.
won their show and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah.
So then you're winning shows and you got the momentum behind you. When do you finally, because I know did you do nationals a few years, or was it USA's? I don't remember your background exactly.
Well, see, so my problem is, and this is what I tell young kids now, I say, don't, whatever you're going to do, be consistent, because what ended up happening to me is I had so many distractions. So I was competing in the AMBC
Hmm.
all the way up until 2001. And
Okay.
what ended up happening was I ended up going to USA, won the Junior USA's, which is a age thing for them.
Yep.
And then I went to the Open AMBC Nationals and got fifth. But there was like 40 guys in our class because it was big then. Natural
Yeah.
bodybuilding was still really big, because it wasn't until they like put men's physique in the MPC that natural bodybuilding started really dropping their numbers, right?
Sure.
So we had 40 something guys, and back then we were on stage posing for like 40 minutes because you do both sides. You remember, the NBC, you had to do a hamstring pose, you had to do a
Yep.
calf pose, like all these crazy poses, right? But so I did pretty good with that. But then I switched over to Muscle Mania. And Muscle Mania
Okay.
was on TV, and I actually was on TV through them, and I got some magazine press through them. And they, remember, Natural Muscle Development started promoting only all natural.
Yes.
And yeah, so, and Muscle Mania was their primary organization they were covering.
Okay.
And so I did the one in Redondo Beach, California, and I did a super body down Orlando and or down in Miami. And they had a lot of momentum then. They were actually on ESPN consistently and all that stuff, because they had all the fitness events. And what happened was, we were at the Jackie Gleason Theater,
Okay.
and it wasn't sold out. It was like a decent crowd, but nothing crazy. That was in June of 2001. I
Okay.
ended up in fifth place. So that year, I had met Craig Richardson down at the beach, and I went to see him at the MPC Nationals the year he won it. And
Okay.
I remember looking and watching and being like, holy shit, this is the Nationals, not a world championship. This is just the Nationals. And it was in Tribeca. It was in a theater, Beacon Theater, I think, in New York City.
Okay.
But Gregory Hines was there. Some other stars were there. But it was, more importantly, it was sold out. Three
Okay.
stories high, sold out.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, we're doing all this work. And these guys, all I could see is that they were getting all this fame because all the major magazines were there, right?
Sure.
There was no social media, so you couldn't promote yourself back then. The magazines had to promote you.
Yep.
And I'm looking, I'm going, I just heard Stan McQuay didn't get paid for his pro win. Like, Lutwick didn't pay him. And I'm looking at these guys. Victor Martinez won that year too. And I'm looking
Okay.
at this and I'm going, man, these guys are getting major photo shoots, are getting magazine covers. You're like, this is where it's got to be. This is
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's at. And so that following 2003, I went and won the overall Jantana.
Another contest that I think is no longer in existence. Remember that?
No,
Wow.
it's not. It was in Roanoke. It was not. It was in North Carolina. I won the
Yep.
overall. And Matt Duvall, remember him? God rest his
Oh,
soul.
sure.
Matt Duvall was judging, and he came up to me after and was like, "You got all the potential in the world. Let me train you." So he trained me for the 2004 Junior Nationals. I'm on stage at that time. I'm married with one child, two stepchildren,
Okay.
and I'm on stage. I do terrible because we used Dream Tan, and I wasn't hard enough either. And
Now
so
let me
after the
stop you for a
show,
minute, Fred, because the people that are watching this, because I competed back in the '90s too, we did not have spray-on tans. We had a
right?
foam brush that we would
Yep,
do ourselves with a hairdryer,
yep,
just to educate some of the newer
absolutely.
fans out there.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is, there was no contest tanning company, right? You
Yep.
had to do it yourself. So I had with that Dream Tan stuff. Remember that stuff? You like
Oh,
don't
yeah.
need the extra coat, just one coat. Look like mud, blurred a lot of your definition. And Gary Udick comes up to me after the show and he goes, "You got a great physique, my man. You need to go to the USA in a couple weeks, get a little sharper, go to the USA, and don't use that Dream Tan shit anymore." And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. So reality set in. I'm coming back home. I got 3 kids, a wife, and I got no money. I
Yep.
had, we had like 800 something dollars in the bank, no savings. I owned a gym at the time, so I was like, that I was making no money with the gym, so it was literally like every day counted.
Yep.
And some other unfortunate things happened in my business at that point because I wasn't paying attention. So I had a couple trainers leave me and steal a bunch of clients.
Oh, jeez.
And what I realized, wait, what is this bodybuilding stuff bringing me? It's doing nothing but hurting me
Yep.
because when I'm doing it, I'm not paying attention to anything else, right? So then I stepped away from it and I got my business to where I needed it to be, and it was awesome. Like the gym was doing pretty good, my marriage was decent, the kids were growing. I believe, yeah, I had my son,
Yep.
and I'm like, what am I missing? Because I still felt kind of empty, and I'm like, why am I? And then I got a wrist injury that they were talking about. If you're gonna lift heavy, you're gonna tear your wrist, and it's never gonna be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right. So at that point, I'm like, shit, I might not be able to bodybuild again. And I'm like 31. So I looked at my wife at the time. I said, if you give me 4 years to do this, if I don't hit pro by the time 4 years hits, I'll stop. Promise.
Okay. So 35 then?
Right. So then she agreed to it. Um, Halfway through that, 2 years into it, we split. I met my second wife, and at that point, she was like a driving force in me turning pro
Awesome.
because she pushed it. So she was great support system to push me to turn pro. I ended up turning pro at the 2010 Nationals, and and then from that point forward, it's been we ended up with 13 top 5 finishes as a pro win, and then of course this past year actually 14 top 5 finishes now with the Masters, and 2 pro wins with the Pro Masters. So
I have to give you credit, Fred, because something you don't see in today's times is you were competing. I remember looking at your bio. You were competing 4, 5, maybe 6 times a year on average, if I remember
yeah,
correctly, and nobody
yeah.
does that anymore. Nobody does that anymore.
Well, I was fortunate to have a really nice. Okay, well, there's a caveat to that. One, what was my niche? Posing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was literally guest posing upwards of 20 something times a year around the
Okay.
world.
Yep.
So I had to be in shape anyway. Um, Secondly, so I didn't really have that time because my calling card was posing. So I would get amazing opportunities to pose from everywhere, from France to Australia to everywhere in the world, and even Africa a few times. So when you got these people paying that kind of money for you to come out and guest pose, you got to be in shape. And so it was like just made sense. I'm not disciplined enough just to be in shape to guest pose. So
Yep.
I needed to compete.
Okay.
And when I was competing all those times, there was a point system. So it was
Yep.
like, if I get top 5, I'm adding points, and it's a small check added on to what I was making guest posing, and I had a really nice sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my training business, but honestly, I could have really, truly had a really nice livelihood off of just what I was making from bodybuilding,
Yep.
because you
Okay.
don't hear that a lot if you're not a top 10 guy. But I was literally guest posing somewhere every other weekend,
Wow.
and
Okay.
at that point, like I went to Germany, combined it with a seminar, made money from that, sold my clothing, sold my pictures, all that stuff. So I was making a nice living, and I was loving it. Like I love being on stage. So that's why I ended up competing so much, because it was like, why not? I got to be in shape anyway to do these guest posings. And now, okay, I get third here, second here, fourth here, fifth, all these points accrue. And now every year, four times I qualified for the Olympia through that run.
Yep.
And only one time it was because I won the show outright. So,
So talk about that for a minute, Fred. What do you think about the point system versus the new system where you have to win the show to make the Olympia? What are your thoughts on that?
well, I think it makes sense because now there's a lot more shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more shows now, right? So if you pick and choose your shows right, and you're a good bodybuilder, you're going to make it to the Olympia, right? So you're really the best of the best go. Because in 2015, when I won my show, Akeem Williams was a notable name in it. Tony
Sure.
Freeman was a notable name, but a lot of the guys were like, I would say tier 2 or 3 bodybuilders, right? They weren't household names. I consider myself always like a tier 2, maybe 1C. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
Sure.
I was, but but um, you know, if I was on point and I was in shape, I could always fuck with anybody, right?
Yep.
So my problem is we didn't hit my peak as often as I would have liked to, and it wasn't short of hard work, because we saw this year when I worked with the right person, I look crazy.
Okay.
But so I think if I had a different coach, my career would have been a lot better. But
Okay.
blame's on me because I didn't switch. And so the thing is, we had some times where we hit our peak, some times where we didn't. And
Sure.
so for me, here's the thing: being at the Olympia was an amazing experience. But perspective is everything. Like my first Olympia, I got there, and obviously I was genetically gifted because I got there, and literally every Sunday leading into every show I had done up to that point in my career was a cheat day for me.
Oh wow.
Like I'm not
Okay.
talking about like a cheat meal. I'm not talking about cheat
Yep.
meal. Like 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. I was stuffing my face with something.
Just
And
crazy
then when
metabolism
I
or
got
crazy metabolism?
I don't have a crazy metabolism. What it is that when I'm willing to kill myself on the 2 days afterwards to get all that out.
Got it. Okay.
and
Okay.
when and then I would, but when you do that, you stress your system out completely.
Yep.
Yeah, and you never look your best because your body's so damn tired from working so hard to get rid of all that food. And then by the time your body can normalize, you're doing it again. So, but what ended up happening, it never hurt me though, because I was always doing well. So then by the time I hit, so I would do that all the way up until 4 weeks out, then I would cut that out.
Okay.
Um, but then when I got my ass kicked in 2012 at the Olympia, like I thought I looked terrible. I was like, okay, this sucks, right? Like
Okay.
let me do this the right. And I remember talking to Sean Roden. I'm like, you never take a cheat meal? Cheat meal? He's like, never, never. So then I came back to the Arnold in 2013. Didn't do a cheat meal from the time November hit until after the Arnold. Didn't touch anything
Okay.
that wasn't on the plan. Even on Thanksgiving, I stuck to the plan. And I looked crazy at the Arnold. Like everybody was like, "Holy shit, where'd this kid come from?" Right? Like this is not the kid that was on stage in September.
And you placed
At the
seventh, I
Olympia.
think. You did seventh
I
at US show, right?
that Arnold was I got 7th, and it
Okay.
was if you go back and look at the comparisons, no way I shouldn't have been top 6. But
Okay.
either way, I'm a new guy. I was a new guy at that point, right? So I take 7th, and Peter McGough, right?
Oh
He
yeah.
he writes this article on me. Smalls hits the big time, and from that point forward, that's when I started guest posing everywhere because they saw my routine. I won
Sure.
Best Poser. I did the photo shoot in Flex magazine, and next thing you know, I mean, I am guest posing everywhere. And it was like Christmas every time I opened my email because it was like somebody was asking me to guest post somewhere else. And from that point forward, it was like, well, I guess I'm competing all the time. And we did that Arnold, then we went to Arnold Brazil. First call out, dead center. I didn't have a sponsor though, so somehow I ended up in fifth. So
Okay.
I ended up in fifth. Like, I mean, I swear to you, at prejudging, I'm dead center the whole time. You look at the
Yep.
video, you can see it. I'm dead center. We come back for the night show, which is 2 hours later, and ended up in fifth.
Go
I was like,
figure.
damn.
Okay.
Yeah. Dennis James comes backstage. He goes, all you dudes in the top five owe Fred dinner because he just got shafted.
Oh
And
my God. Gotta love DJ.
so I love him, right? So, but anyway, it was great because again, more guest posing opportunities. And I lost money there, but I gained it a whole lot more. And then I remember Tony Freeman said to me, "Careful how you do this because they're going to burn you out."
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I burned out. Like I did the Arnold. I did the Arnold Brazil. I guest posed for like 4 weeks straight. And then when it came to do my show, Chicago Pro, mentally I was tapped. I didn't even care about the
Yeah.
show. I didn't want to
Okay.
do it. I didn't want to do it. And so then I stopped, took a break, and I went to the end of 2013 and went in and got fourth at Prague, which
Mm-hmm.
was an awesome lineup. That was like um, Kai won, Dexter took second, Branch was third, I was fourth, um, William Bonac was fifth, Tony Freeman was sixth, Lionel Becky was seventh.
Who's who of this? Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, so I ended up in fourth there, and we and they on the spot were so excited about my posing. On the spot, they created a best poser on the
Wow.
spot.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the Arnold Spain was the week before. Arnold comes on stage and says, "You're the best poser I've ever seen," and
Wow.
they didn't have a best poser award created on the spot and paid me for it. I was like, so
Wow.
so at that point I was like on cloud nine because I'm like, I'm not winning the shows the way I want to, but I'm being recognized for what I love to do most anyway, which is perform.
Yep.
So that was a great. It was so, and another lesson in this is, and here's the lesson in it. I got done off stage in Prague. Now, had I got back to the grind and got ready for started getting ready for the Arnold the way I did the first year in 2013, I know I would have been top 4 or 5 at that year's Arnold,
Yep.
because I was on a roll. I was looking great. I was already placing high against those guys anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I do? I take my family on vacation. We go to Disney. I'm hanging out with my kids, you know, and my coach hits me up at 12 weeks out and goes, you got to compete in 12 weeks, right? You've already committed to the Arnold. What are you doing? And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going to. So I don't think I got serious for that show until 10 weeks out.
Okay.
And when you're that close to it, you can't miss the peak at all. You look terrible.
Yeah.
So we missed the peak in Ohio, but 1 week later, and it's so funny. And this is why I also tell people, if you know who you are, don't let the judges tell you who you're not.
Good
Right? Like,
point.
like so many people will know they look great. The judges tell them they're not worthy of first place, and then they just fall apart.
Yep.
Well, I knew what I had done and what I was capable of. We had missed the peak, so it wasn't hard, and I fall.
Oop, lost you for a minute. It's okay if you gotta log back out. I have no audio. Fred, if you got to log back out, it's okay. No audio. Okay. We'll be right back, folks. I think Fred probably got a call or something coming into his cell phone here. But anyways, always thank you so much for watching the show. Hopefully everybody's enjoying. Vinny had a conflict tonight, so I'm running the ship for him.
Are you back?
Yeah.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're good.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
That's
Sorry.
okay. No worries.
Yeah, so the lesson there is literally 1 week later, and it was a hellish week. I mean, I did no carb, I did cardio twice a day. But the next week I show up in Australia, a lot of the same lineup, right? So
Okay.
I think Sean won it, William Bonek took second, Branch took third. But I got last at the Arnold, 14th, end up here and ended up getting sixth.
Okay.
So just 1 week later, which, me and Ed Nunn were neck and neck, and really thought I should have beat him. But either way, it doesn't matter. Like, I beat a bunch of the people that beat me the week before just by, hitting that peak properly,
Yep.
And it was, so yeah, so many lessons learned.
So Fred, when you're training for a show, what is your general time frame? 16 weeks, 12 weeks? What are you generally giving yourself?
When I'm my best, it's 20.
20. Okay.
Yeah, when I'm my best, it's 20 good weeks. Yeah, like we did the Masters this year. I started with Chris about 15 weeks out.
Okay.
Chris Aceto coached me, and I had started training, like really training, like at 20 weeks out, and like not missing any meals, making sure I'm perfect on everything. And of course, I was training since January because I took 2 years off, got divorced, went through, just lost some weight, and so I was really just kind of like looking like I was like walking around in the high 220s, low 230s. Just looked good, like had some abs, but I wasn't big, I wasn't nearly where I wanted to be. So I got up to 270 or 268, and then started sending Chris pictures like 15 weeks out. And I remember when I really locked in, I sent Chris pictures, and I said, "Hey, my son's birthday was yesterday. I had a few things at his birthday party." He sends back, "If you are not peeled, you will not do the show. You will not do the Masters Olympia, and you have a long way to go."
Oh, geez.
And that was the last fuck up I had. No more screw ups. Everything was perfect. Like, I think this was the most locked into a prep since I won my pro show.
Fred, let's talk about the Olympia for a minute now. So the Masters Olympia, okay? Because I know my timing might be off, but everyone hears the rumbling of, let's say, September, October, that there's a Masters Olympia possibly on the horizon. Okay, last year. Are you automatically saying, if it's there, I'm doing it? Or like, what's your mindset at that point when you first hear it last year that there could be coming back?
That's the only reason I came back.
Okay.
I was done. I was done with bodybuilding. I was like, okay, I'm going to go into this thing. I started my supplement business, pushing some of that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to coach and do supplement business, do my personal training company. I'm done with bodybuilding. And what ended up happening when they brought it up, I think in October, they brought it and said they're going to do it.
Yep.
At that point, I started going, I can win that. I can win that. And so I went to the Olympia last year, which was in December, I believe. And I saw Tariq and I said, if you guys are really doing the Masters Olympia, I want in. I'm going to do it. And he was like, oh, great. Awesome. So, yeah, at that point, when I got back home in January, I started lifting heavy again, started eating more than 3 or 4 meals a day, started eating 6 meals a day again. And I started working out like a bodybuilder, not like when I felt like it. So
you submit your application, because again, Vinny went through the same process. You submit your application. Are you already in prep mode, or are you waiting till you finally get that green light in, I guess, was it April? I guess everybody was announced.
I mean, yeah, it was announced in April, but I mean, they put me on the Instagram in early March, late February, something like that, as a
Okay.
person that was going to be doing it.
Okay.
And then um, every time I've seen Tariq or saw Steve Weinberg or any of those guys, they were going to do it. So, I kind of figured I'd be in.
Yep.
I mean, you don't count your blessings until you see the list, but I figured if they don't let me in as a former Open Olympia competitor, then who they letting in, right? So I
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
figured I'd be in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I heard weird numbers of 300, 500 people, and obviously they narrowed it down to, I guess, the total of 200 or something between all the classes.
456 people applied.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
456. And it's funny because I did that Tampa Pro, and seven
Yes.
guys that were in that. I mean, yeah, seven guys that were in that competition. I had applied to be in it, and then
Oh,
got
interesting.
denied.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So
So,
at that point, I was like, damn, it is kind of an honor to be selected.
and anybody on that list that you competed against prior at the
Now,
Masters O?
I mean, me and Max Charles had competed against each other, and I
Okay.
actually said to him backstage, "Man, you wait till this show to come in your best ever," you know. um, but I think one of Josh Lauderitz and I had competed against each other. He had beat me
Okay.
once. I had beat him once. Robert
Bernayka.
Bernica,
Yep.
he, I thought I should have beat him when I turned pro for the overall, but they gave it to him. Of course, he was already signed with MD and everything, so it was nice
Okay.
to beat him. Um, there was a couple other guys that I think were there that the tall guy that kind of looks like Dennis Wolf. He got like I think eighth or seventh or something.
Yeah. Okay.
We had competed against each other, and I beat him in Chicago one year.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, man, it was the experience was really cool because let me tell you, like everyone was super friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone got along well, and like whatever could go wrong going into that show, that last couple of days went wrong for me. Like I was
Really?
stuck. Yeah, I was stuck in the airport for 10 hours more than I should have been. I only packed enough food for 20 hours of a trip,
Oh,
and
geez.
we were traveling for 32 hours
Okay.
because we were supposed to get in 1 p.m. We didn't get in until 1 a.m.
Okay.
I lost all my luggage. We had cooked every meal that we could possibly, like everything we had planned for. Whatever Chris is going to throw in his meal plan, we had in
Sure.
our check bag, right? So all our food was gone. It because it went bad, and we didn't get any of our luggage until Monday. Like we competed on Sunday, we didn't get any luggage till Monday. So every day I had to track down trunks when I got there.
Jeez.
Um, every day we got up and we were connected to a mall, and there was an H&M. So every day, me and my girlfriend would get up and go shop for clothes for that day,
But
you
they have
know.
clothes big enough for you?
Well, you know what? Honestly, like it was crazy. So I send Chris pictures 10 days out,
Okay.
and I'm thinking, man, I look fucking crazy. And I said to him, Coach, yo, I said, yo, Coach, look at this. And I sent him this video. It's veins everywhere. I posted it on Instagram, and I got like a ton of hits on it. So I know I'm
Sure.
looking really good. And he sends back, if you trust me, I'll have you way harder in 10 days. And I'm
Okay.
like, what the fuck? Like, what is he talking about? Like, I've never been this hard before, right? Like, what is he talking about? So I call him. I'm like, what? I don't look good? He says, you look great. But if you want to win, we got to look gnarly. And he
Yeah.
said, in 10 days, you'll be the best conditioned guy on stage. I promise. Just let
Okay.
me do what I do. Don't worry about your weight. Let me do what I do. Now, at that point, I was 228. So I'm like, all right. When I left my house before we got on the plane, I was 220.
Okay.
10 days later, 8 pounds, I was 220. Never seen anything like it. Like I was so hard that all I had to do is just like move my leg, and I could see all my glutes fibers just going up and
Wow.
down.
Okay.
I'd never been like that my entire life. My entire life, like I've seen my glutes hard before, but not like that. I mean, it was just a different level of leanness that I ever had. Like it was scaring me actually because I never seen my face like that.
Were you happy with your placing? I mean, you can be honest.
I didn't, you know what, honestly, man, when I looked the way I looked, I didn't even, it was like, I definitely felt like I should have been third
Okay.
without question. I felt like I should have been third. I felt like if you really took the fact of like, I felt like from the back, I beat everybody. Like,
Yep.
I really felt like from the back, I beat everybody, but I'm not dumb. I mean, the pec tears hurt me a little bit. And,
Sure.
you know, but I felt like, my conditioning was better than everybody else's, and I felt like from the back I was beating everybody. So it was just a matter of, I think if I had a little more meat on my hamstrings and my front was a little more overpowering,
Okay.
like the size I used to carry when I was younger, I think I've been able to win it. But I think with the pec tear and giving up a little bit in size, um, it was too much to overcome. But
Okay.
being compared in that top four at night, like I that felt really good. Like in the morning when they brought me out and then put me back with fifth, sixth, seventh, or whatever, I was like, I felt a little. I was a little angry. I mean, I was a
Okay.
little not
Okay.
angry. I was just very disappointed. I was like,
Sure.
I know I'm as conditioned as all those guys in the top three. I know my symmetry matches up with all the guys in the top three. So why are you not comparing me there? That was kind of my thought process. But then at night, they worked us as a top four.
Okay. Good.
And when they worked us as a top four, at that point, that's when Jay Cutler, Bob Ciccarello, and the other commentators saying Fred should be in third. Fred should be in third.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah, so if you listen to that webcast, everyone's saying I should have been third. And that's where I felt I should have been too. Like I felt like I should have been in third as well.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, it was definitely an impressive lineup. I know there was all question mark of who was going to show up, who was going to be in place, but everybody looked great, at least from
I
pictures and videos.
it was cool. It was I'd never been backstage and felt like, wow, I'm out conditioning these guys. Like I
Hmm.
had never felt like that. Like always felt like, okay, well, my size is really good, my shape's really good, and he may be a little harder, but he doesn't have my shape, or he may be a little harder, but I'm thicker. You know what I mean? Like I I was standing back there, I'm like, oh my God, nobody's harder than me. Like
Yeah.
this is awesome. And it is definitely the hardest prep I've ever been through. Like I think Chris had it in his mind. Because when I called him and told him I'm gonna probably be fourth, he was like, no fucking way. Like who's beating you?
Yeah.
And because he really thought with that conditioning that we were going to win. So when I say he pushed me, I mean every single day from 2.5 weeks out, I sent him pictures.
Of course. Yeah.
And and you're saying of course, but when I've worked with George in the past, I've sent him pictures maybe every 4 or 5 days, sometimes once a week. So for Chris to ask for pictures every single day, I was like, whoa, like this is nuts, and when I did a show with him a few years back in 2021, he wasn't pressing me like this. He was really pressing me, and I remember I thought I was in shape, and I'm like, we're 2 weeks out, and I'm going, all right, I know he's going to give me some food because I am dying.
Okay.
And I send my pics, and I send my pics. He goes, good job, look good, same plan.
Okay.
Now I did the Tampa Pro, right? And I won the Masters there. And when I got off stage, he said, you can go have big steak and a salad, right? You can
Okay.
use real dressing. You can use real dressing. Biggest steak you can find. So that's what I did. I get off stage after the open, and he says, we got to get right back on it. 50 grams of carbs, cardio tomorrow, blah, 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 right? So I'm like, nothing tonight? Like, not even because we did nothing to carb up for that show. Like, we literally
Yeah.
still under 200 grams of carbs to go into the Tampa show, right? So
Wow. Okay.
we never really ate up. We never really ate much, and we still kept cardio in. And I only used half a diazide. I didn't really use any diuretics. We never dropped water. So literally, we kind of went in as is, right? I
Okay.
mean, the half diazide definitely helped, but we didn't. It's not like we were pushing any carbs or anything to try and look our best at that show. It was like, let's see what can happen. And I
Yep.
just woke up that day. I woke up Monday, and the show was on Thursday, and I woke up Monday, and I said, I just feel like doing a show. I was like, I just feel like doing a show. So I called him and said, can I do it? He said, send me pictures. He said, fine, you can do it. So I flew down to Tampa and I did it. Mind you, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to fly into Tampa 2 days ahead of time,
Yep.
allow the water to come out. Nope. I flew in the night before.
Jeez.
When I was, look, this is the crazy thing. I flew in the night before. I get my rental. Coming back from the grocery store, I get a flat tire. I'm changing a flat tire at midnight the night before, right? And we just get up the next morning. He's like, have like 50 grams of carb and cut your water down to 12 ounces per meal. I'm like, that's it? He's like, yeah, that's it. And then we go into the show and I win. He's like, cool. So, I'm like, he's like, go have a steak and a full fat and a salad with real dressing. That was the last nice, sustainable meal I had with any real carbs. He gave me 1 day in between that and the show where one day I had like 150 grams of carb. Other than that, it was 4 eggs in the morning. That was the only fat I was getting.
Okay.
All my meats were chicken and egg whites. All my protein, chicken and egg whites.
Yep.
And I did that for pretty much 3 weeks into the show. And my cardio was still at 60 minutes in the morning, sometimes 20 minutes in the afternoon, sometimes 30 minutes in the afternoon, just depending.
Yep.
And like I had never dieted that hard in my life. And when you're getting 50 grams of carb and you're working out every day except one with weights, and you're trying to, and you're doing all that cardio, it's like it's a gut check, man. You're looking in the mirror like, fuck,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Fred, how
I
tall are
waited
you?
till 5'7",
Okay. Okay.
5'7". Yeah. So I'm like, I waited till I was 47 years old to train like this. This is nuts, but it was a great feeling. Great feeling.
It's I don't know if Paulie shared this with you, Paulie Davis, but you mentioned your age of 47, and I don't know if you heard all
Yeah.
the stories going around with all the YouTubers confusing you with a
Uh-huh.
football player that was 60.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, I need to write this out. This is awesome. Everyone's like, God, he looks great for 60. I'm like, fuck it, just go with it. Just go
You look
with
good for
it.
47, but phenomenal for 60.
I know, right? If I can look like that at 60, man, God bless me. Shoot. Yeah, I was like, I heard it. I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like, oh, they're thinking about the guy from West Virginia. Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's next for
Fun
you?
stuff.
Are you going to compete again? Are you back for next year, or is this kind of a one and done year?
Well, I kind of feel like if I look like I did the Masters, I have a shot that I can win an open show again.
Sure.
So if so my goal is to put on 5 or 6 pounds of
Okay.
good mass with that conditioning and see what it looks like.
Awesome.
See what it looks like. Yeah. So, Charles Griffin just won the Legion, and he has that torn pec too.
Yeah.
So, I was posing around it pretty good. I've got some exercises that I'm going to be doing this year that I've never done before with cables to try and bring a little more fullness to that area.
Okay.
And so November 1st, we'll get blood work done, make sure everything's good.
Good.
And then if it's good, then it's just going to go full throttle, try and put on the size and compete in the next summer.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fred, as we wind down here, we come to the part of the show where it's just 3 random questions. Okay. This has not been rehearsed, folks. So I'm going to quickly throw 3 at you, whatever comes to your mind. What's the
Okay.
craziest meal or shake you've ever had?
Craziest shake I've ever had was I always do my peanut butter, flavored oatmeal, protein, and banana. And then when, one of the meal, what is that guy? My cookie dealer.
Oh,
I
yeah.
take one of those cookies and throw it in there with almond milk and a couple of Hershey chocolate bars and blend that up and just drink it back. I do
Oh,
that
that's mild.
sometimes.
I thought
You
you were going to say
know,
you throwing some tuna fish or something.
no, I ain't doing that shit, man. I did attempt to do 1 year when I was eating so much fish.
Yep.
Um, I was just tired of eating fish. I couldn't eat no more fish, so I took rice and fish and put it in a blender with a ton of hot sauce, thinking it'd be like a soup.
Yep.
And yeah, I couldn't drink it. Couldn't drink it. I couldn't do
Jeez.
it. Couldn't do it.
If you could repeat 1 year, what year would it be and why?
Uh,
Whether it's personal or professional.
Repeat 1 year. Probably 2015.
Okay.
A lot of good stuff. That's the year I turned 40. It's the year that I won my pro show. Yeah, a lot of good stuff that year. A lot of good
You can
stuff that year. That was awesome.
you can pose with two people, past or present, dead or alive. Who would you want to step on stage with?
Flex Wheeler and Sean Roden.
Wow. Okay. Sean Roden. Yeah. God bless his soul.
We were like best friends. So, like when he turned pro, I trained him for that.
Okay.
And when he used to stay at my house in the early part of his career when he still lived in Baltimore. And yeah, I miss him tremendously. And anytime I was prepping, I would call him up and he would be like, Freddie, what's up? And he's like, just control what you control, keep a smile on your face, and do the best you can every day. So he had good perspective on things. So
Yeah, being a fan of the '90s with all the really classic physiques, I thought Sean, when he won, thinking that bodybuilding is coming back to grace and aesthetics. And
yeah.
I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, he looked at. Well, I mean, Andrew Jack's trying to take it back there, and
Yes, I'm a
I
big
mean,
Samson fan. I like Samson personally.
Samson is going to make a run. I mean, Derek's looking crazy, and they've got nice shape. And you know what? I think everybody's discounting Brandon Curry, but he's starting to look really polished again. And so it's I trained with Nick a little bit over COVID, so I always kind of root for him too.
Nick Walker.
Yeah, and what
Okay.
he's done with his physique over time has been absolutely. You can see he's really trying to keep that waist in check, and he works so hard, man. I remember after a workout, I see him eating, and I'm like, "What are you eating?" He's like, 3 cups of rice and
Yeah.
like 10 ounces of ground beef or ground turkey. And I'm thinking to myself, after you train, it's crazy. Nobody wants to eat like that after they train. And he's just scarfing it down, man. And I'm like, nah, give me my shake and maybe some Gatorade or Vitargo, and then I'll eat an hour later. But he was killing it. So,
Fred, give us
kudos to
give us
him.
your top 3 pick for the Open Olympia. Put you on the spot here.
I'm gonna go with my heart. So I'm hoping that we get Derek in first, um, Brandon in second, and Nick in third.
Wow. Okay.
That's what I like. Yeah, I think Andrew Jack's gonna be in fifth, Samson in fourth.
Okay. I think so. Yeah. But Samson's there's a lot of dark horses. I think it's going to be a great lineup this year. Derek, I don't know if I've seen a back like that in years. His back is on another level.
And it's fun. It is so much fun. So much fun. So yeah, I mean he looks amazing. And I think the Olympia is gonna be amazing this year.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, Fred, it's truly been a pleasure. I mean, where can people follow you? Your social media, Instagram, if you're still looking for clients. I mean, tell everybody where to get in touch with you.
IFBB Pro _ Fred Biggie Smalls is the Instagram. My website is abphysiques.fit. We do personal training in person out of Delaware, and we obviously do online coaching. Just DM me for that. Again, that's IFBB Pro _ Fred Biggie Smalls. And yeah, I'm always helping people and love this sport.
Definitely. And, Fred, it's truly been an honor. Glad to see that you're back. I know we mentioned you had that kind of 2-year hiatus. Glad to see you back.
Yeah.
And wishing you much
Yeah, it's
success in
fun.
24 and continued.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And as always, thank you for tuning into the Masters Muscle Podcast.